I think we're going to do some audience Q&A. Yes?
Okay, great.
I've got some cues here. Oh, sorry, dude. All right. Let's see. This is from KK. What parts of the book were happiest to revisit the memories of, and which were the most challenging?
Like I said before, a lot of people in this book have passed away, some before I started the book. I kept thinking, like, I wish they were there to interview or share these stories about, and then you feel a little bit of this extra thing to honor them. But they were still happy, you know? And then calling people that I hadn't necessarily spoke to in 20, 25 years, some of these people, not knowing how their lives were, like, most people, like, I was very fortunate to make it out of this night scene and kind of transition, and as were other people, but some people didn't. And especially during lockdown, so many DJs I know just started seeing, like, I started seeing medical GoFundMes, like people that relied on that, like, cash job. So yeah, calling people, at first you can't just be like, hey, we haven't spoken in so long, do you remember any funny stories about me? Like, it's, you know, I really wanted to, like, show people, earn their trust again. So, but catching up and reminiscing with all these old heads was also really great. Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it turned out to be perhaps a more emotional experience than you'd anticipated.
Yeah, and then writing about, like, my stepfather, who was a huge influence on me, and the whole book really takes place in the 90s except for the epilogue, which is me walking around with my 2-year-old daughter strapped to me and like a baby Bjorn, seeing all the clubs that are now no longer. And, you know, my stepdad, who was a huge influence on me musically, like, he's quite heavy with Parkinson's, you know, and I didn't realize starting to write about him at the end that would really, of all the things that I went through and whatever, like, it was writing about him and that really kind of that had way more emotional impact on me. It was the first time as well, like, in reading in the audiobook that I had to, like, I broke down and I was like, oh God, this must be for people that write books, like, and the whole thing is like, you know, I hadn't planned for that.
Your reading was great, by the way, and I don't know if you're allowed to talk about audiobooks at Barnes & Noble, but hey, I'll ask. Did you listen to any audiobooks as, like, a way to sort of say, like, oh, how do I want to read this? Like, how do I want to sort of do this? It's almost like a little play.
Yeah. People started to tell me what the best audiobooks were, and I was like, well, I don't want to listen to those because that'll be terrifying. So I actually didn't, but my wife heard me reading because I was trying to read a little snippet for the Instagram, and she was like, this is very bad. She sent me to her acting coach.
Oh, really?
So yeah, so I knew there was no way that I was going to turn into, like, you know, Laurence Olivier in the course of 2 months.
Yeah.
But it really helped. This amazing woman, Joan Rosenfeld, helped me with, like, pacing, and then so by the time I read it. And then I realized, like, to be honest, like, I read Julia Fox's book, Down the Drain, and I really enjoyed it. And there was this a sound going around on TikTok of a portion of it where she's like, it's kind of amazing, I don't know if anyone saw it, where she's like, I was down on the ground looking for cocaine in the rug, like, you know. But I realized she has quite a monotone way of talking as well, but it's like, I don't care because, like, I know it's her voice and it's her story. So yeah. I started to be like, it just has to be me and not suck, and then it'll be okay.
I mean, I guess I'm putting you on the spot, but if you had to choose, would you rather someone read this book or listen to the audiobook?
I'm a reader, so I think I would prefer on the page, but I've had some people send me messages or whatever and say, like, I read the book and, you know, I really liked it, and then I read the audiobook and I love that too, and I'm like, who would do that? Who would want to spend that much time with me? But I was also incredibly grateful, but I just wanted it to be good. I haven't listened to it just in the same way I don't like to hear my voice on an answering machine or anything, you know, an interview.
This question is a good direct one.
My favorite and the one where I made my name was this club on a Tuesday night called Sweet Thing, and it moved clubs a few times, but that was where it started. Up to that point, I'd opened for other DJs, for Stretch Armstrong and Funkmaster Flex and stuff, but that was the first place where, as the main DJ, I really made my name. And it started as a party with 50 people. We filled this club that was 300 people, then it moved to a bigger club that was 2,000, and that was when Fat Joe and Big Pun and Biggie and Jay-Z and these people started coming down to the nights I played, and we played mostly old school funk and soul, and then with like a little bit of hip hop. So it was really like, it was an amazing vibe in there.
You have a very good story in the book where you talk about playing a gig where you were opening for Kid Capri.
Yeah.
And then you end up basically playing over his time. And then the way you tell it, it got me thinking about, I wonder if you remember that story now differently at your age than you experienced it. The way you tell it is you pay deference to a pioneer, and you see it with that certain lens. But I wondered at the time how you felt. Was there a party that was like, dude, I'm gonna get to play into this dude's time?
No, it was awkward as hell. Okay. It was just like it was in the book. Yeah, it was just like Puffy climbing up. It was just Puffy had a very famous like 29th birthday party that was like in his sort of coming out period of taking over New York society, and it was just this moment where he yelled, "Get the other DJ back on!" He's like climbing up this wall and like yelling, and I'm like, oh god. So I got back on, but no, I didn't enjoy it at the time.
You tell it with a great sort of a way to communicate the emotional complication of the moment.
Right.
What was one of your very favorite and outstanding moments while DJing clubs and or parties? A very favorite and outstanding moment.
I mean, so by the end of the 90s, where the club ends, and that was when the hip-hop scene suddenly in downtown New York was suddenly very commercial. It was like getting into the bling era, and it was like all the clubs were like Leo and Mariah Carey and Jay-Z and, you know, obviously Diddy, like, so it was very celebratory and rowdy, and it was probably very exciting for me as a 22-year-old kid to be DJing 10 feet away from all the people that made the records that I love to play. But it was also, looking back, kind of a little, probably superficial and shallow. It was like this time where everything got a bit status obsessed. But like playing a song like Hard Knock Life, you know, 500 people shouting or singing. Nobody can sing Hard Knock Life without sounding crazy off key unless you're a 6-year-old. So like all these like grown-ups going, it's a hard knock life, you know? But like Jay-Z is like the person who's made the song is literally in my eye line, like with, you know, presiding over this whole scene. There were times where like the energy in the rooms was just so electric, it was like combustible in these tiny basements. So that's one that stands out to me.
Can you remember a moment where you're looking out from your booth and you can see, you know, a Jay, a whoever, and you're like, I'm gonna try to drop this particular record to impress this particular person?
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I try not to just play everybody's record, because I mean, unless you just felt like that was gonna work. But I remember Prince was in this one club that I DJ'd at, and I remember hearing like the kind of whispers reverberated up to the booth, which is on the balcony. Prince is here, Prince is here. I remember thinking like, I'm gonna play a record that's gonna be like so obscure and so good and funky, like Prince is gonna have to come up and ask what it was. So I pulled out Mambo No. 5, and I found this like obscure Latin funk record, and sure enough, it's playing for like a little while, and I see not Prince, but I see like 2 7-foot security guys coming my way, and I'm sure like Prince is between them, you know, because it's like a packed club. And he comes up to the booth, and he's just kind of like standing there with like a VIP rope here, and like the booth is where you are, so he's just like standing looking at me like so Prince, like like waiting for me to let him in. I was like, wait a minute, like come on. He was like, what is this? And I show him the record, and then I'm queuing up my next record, which was actually Stevie Wonder, All I Do, and it was on a bootleg because there was no real 12-inch for that. So as a DJ, you sometimes play bootleg 12 inches because if you play off the album, it's feedback in the club. You know, the turntables very nerdy, technical, but you needed a 12-inch and it was a bootleg. And at that time, Prince was on that crazy, like, publicity campaign against bootlegging and this whole thing, and he's like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, it's Stevie Wonder, all I do, but it's a bootleg. Well, it's only a DJ bootleg, and I own it, and I have it on CD, and I have it on vinyl and the thing, but this is just what I play when I play in the club. And he starts to take out this phone. It was probably like a brick, like 98 or something. He's like, he starts to be like, I'm gonna have to call Stevie right now, wake him up in the middle of the night in LA and say there's a DJ in New York playing bootlegs of his stuff. I'm like, no. And he was obviously just messing with me. He was not gonna wake up Stevie Wonder, but it was pretty cool. And then he kind of hung out in the club.
Obscurity, great. You obviously made the right call in terms of attracting Prince's interest. But like, how obscure is too obscure? Do you ever play something and you're like, this is gonna get him, and people are like, what? We don't want. What is this?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, not like so much, because after years and years of playing, you do have a general idea like what's a little too far, but then you always just have that like. That record at the ready that if it's not there, you're gonna get it back.
You can bring them back?
Yeah.
What's a life preserver record? What's like, this will always work?
Yeah, there was a really legendary, great New York DJ who's no longer with us called K Slay, and he used to call it, we talk about it, he called it the Save Your Ass Crate, like what's in the Save Your Ass Crate, and the obvious things in that time are like the Jackson 5, I Want You Back, or like Missy Work It, or there's so many, Before I Let Go, yeah, you always had those ready. And then you actually always had to have the After the Fight records, like in case a giant brawl broke out, you would have like those 3 records, 2 in the front, which would be like 3 Little Birds by Bob Marley, or like Let's Get It On, something like when the crazy, Roadhouse thing broke out, you could defuse it.
Is there a Save Your Ass record that works across demographics? I think the Frankie Beverly record's a good example of like, there are people who that song is incredibly important to them, and then there are people who literally don't know that song. Are there songs that like all humans know?
Yes, I Want You Back, definitely. It's just like,
yeah.
They played it last night at a wedding, and it's just like, you find different ways to play songs now that you've played 1,000 times, or edits, or you play the a cappella over something else, but that's one.
Yeah. That shift, do you think, made the biggest difference between being talented and actually becoming successful? It's like a Zen koan. I'm going to read that again here. What mindset shift do you think made the biggest difference between being talented and actually becoming successful?
I think there's so many people that are so talented. I think it's a combination of just like, I know it sounds like such a cliche, but it's just the hard work, it's the determination. It's even for someone who's like fairly insecure and anxiety ridden like me, there has to be a certain amount of self-belief and luck. Like, it's because there's so many there are more talented DJs than me, there are more talented musicians and arrangers than me. It's just like, it's just the work and the luck, I think.
If you had to isolate one moment in your life that demonstrates the importance of luck, what would it be?
The moment that Amy Winehouse showed up outside my studio front door in New York City, 2006. Yeah.
Do you now in hindsight understand what happened to make that happen?
I know literally it was because some A&R guy said like, hey, there's this girl, Amy Winehouse, she's in town, New York for a week, you want to meet her? But I know why I was prepared, because of that, even though I'd been trying to make music for 10 years, at that point never had a hit, whatever, all that preparation and all those years in the clubs, understanding records and arrangements and all that stuff, it certainly prepped me for that opportunity.
Yeah. Are you a butterfly flaps its wings type of person? Do you think about like, if da-da-da hadn't happened, then da-da-da wouldn't happen, blah, blah, blah?
Yes, I truly believe if I hadn't met her that day, I would not be sitting here talking about this book.
Interesting. All right, we got one more, and then I think we're going to do signing.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. How night people? Were there any moments of rediscovery?
Yes. So one of the main things is, a friend of mine read the book, and he was like, I really like the book. He's like, my main takeaway is that you just really miss DJing with vinyl. He's like, I think you should only DJ with vinyl again till the end of the year. And I was like, this was like February or March. I was like, okay, like it just sounded like such a crazy idea. You know, I've been DJing digitally for 20 years. The idea of like carrying these 80-pound crates all the way across town in the back of cabs and having to find these old records seemed so, well, like a pain in the ass. But I was like, okay, I'll try it, because he's a smart friend. He always has weird ideas that I usually bear some fruit. And it's been incredible. It's actually like going back to playing vinyl and rediscovering my love for certain things that I've forgotten about, or just what that is, and just I love it. So this book has really been this lovely. It was almost supposed to be like my farewell to DJing or this part of my life, and instead it's reignited it. And then I have been working on music as well the whole time while I was making this book, because I was trying to make a record at the same time. So that music will come at some point. It is sort of like a kindred spirit to this book.
When you play out of town, do you like bring records on the plane? How do you do that?
I have been, but
it seems arduous.
It's crazy. It's crazy how much I used to play gigs in LA all the time, and I'd just be standing under the luggage belt, just like praying the bag comes out, you know. You're like carrying these giant 2 Techniques bags, like trying to shove them into the overhead compartment, but it was also really fun.
You ever buy a seat for your records? Be that guy?
No, that's crazy.
Thank you, Mark Ronson.
Okay,
appreciate it.
Oh, sure.